So we are gathered here for the daily Q&A and we have some reports, so we can go on.
Avasarai Bhante, there are 14 reports. Sitting meditation, primary object, breath. I took 3 deep breaths before closing the eyes. Upon closing eyes, images and voices appear. I try to shift my focus back to the breath. When it happens, after a while, the breath disappears. If images appear, I will try to find my breath by breathing again. After a while, ringing sounds appear. Is this the inner silence that Bhante has mentioned? After a while, I try to come out of meditation by moving my hands and feet before I open my eyes, but I couldn't feel them. So I decided to do a body scan. While doing that, images will appear intermittently to disrupt, but I try to go back to the body scan. When I was able to feel my body, then I open my eyes. Am I doing the right thing, Bhante? What is the proper way to exit from the meditative state? If I exit the meditative state while the breath is still subtle, does it mean I am still in a meditative state? If yes, how do I get out of it later? Thank you for your advice.
So good experience. Now these type of doubts appear and it's natural, but we can resolve them by practicing again repetitively, experiencing again repetitively. That way we can resolve. Now, for example, the first part you are mentioning that you don't feel the breathing. Now you try to forcefully breathe and try to feel it. Then again you don't feel your body, but you try to do a body scan and somehow get the feelings back. So obviously your meditation is in a deep state, but you don't appreciate it. You want the breath once again. You want the body to appear once again, right? So what I recommend is staying for a longer period, and naturally you can feel that your meditation cycle is finished. You have to wait till that moment, right? If you try to, disrupt your meditation in between, it's not good. So if you wait long enough, you can see naturally the body appears, naturally the breath appears, and it shows that the meditation cycle, it has completed, right? So patiently wait for that. You don't have to disrupt your meditation because the meditation or the practice is going very well. It's your interference that's making the troubles. All the doubts are coming from your interference. So let it happen naturally and simply continue with that process. When that process is nearing the end, you can really feel that your body is returning to the normal, the breath is returning to the normal, and when those signs appear, you can simply realize it is time to, end the session. It might take little longer, that's fine. You simply wait and let the meditation cycle finish. That way when you continue, it is much more appealing, much more peaceful. Otherwise, when you disrupt the meditation cycle in between, it's not good, because then again you might have to go through the same process for many times, right? So simply approach it naturally, let it continue naturally, and let it finish naturally. That's the best approach you can do.
Report number 2. What is contemplation? What is the difference between contemplation and thinking? At what stage of practice should we contemplate? In one sitting, I felt that since the object of meditation disappears when there is mindfulness and attention, it is impermanence and I don't have any control over arising or passing away. And it is non-self. When we get attached to something which we cannot be kept and controlled, it is suffering. Was it thinking or contemplation? Much merit.
Yeah, a lot of thinking goes into the report. that we can see. Now you have to differentiate between the direct experience and thinking, right? I would say 90% of it is thinking, right? So we don't appreciate that. What you have to do is let the direct experience, that's the best one, let the direct experience take over. Don't encourage much of the thinking. It is the main hindrance towards your meditation. So next time when you sit in meditation, simply notice, what do I feel? Do I feel the breathing? Do I feel the walking? That very experience try to present, right? All those doubts, questions, by encouraging them, it is becoming a hindrance to your practice, right? Most of the report, it is about, thinking, questioning, doubting. That's all, right? So those things are mind-made processes. But when it comes to direct experience, that is different. So read your report once again, figure out which parts are direct experience. Most of it, I heard, is simply thinking, simply analyzing, doubting, all those things. So what we encourage is not answering all those questions. Let the questions be. Instead, try to experience the direct experience. Try to write about that direct experience. That's what you have to do. Otherwise, when we keep answering these doubts, questions, what will happen is that tomorrow there will be more doubts. Tomorrow there will be more questions. That's how the mind works. So you can't get rid of questions or doubts by answering them. That's not the case. We don't assign much value to them. That's the very idea. Let the doubts be, let the questions be. Simply come to the direct sensation, direct experience. Do you feel the breathing? What is the difference between in-breath and out-breath? How do you feel the walking? What is the difference between left leg versus right leg? All those things they are more like direct experiences, right? But these things are mind-made, thought processes. So don't appreciate that part. Instead, you come to the body. That's why we started with the body. Whenever we have questions, doubts, we can return our attention back to the body, right? So these thought processes, they are really attractive. You feel like you are finding so much insight in the meditation, but they are not helping, right? So don't try to encourage that process. Instead, go back to the very beginning. Start with the breathing, start with the walking, and try to present your direct experience. Whatever the thoughts, doubts that come, they are simply thoughts, doubts. Simply categorize them as thoughts and doubts, right? The questions, whatever it is, you simply categorize them, notice them, and again come back to the breathing or the direct experience. That way of practice is much better, much appreciated.
Report number 3. Bhante, sometimes when I am meditating, there is music, a song which I heard before, always playing in my mind regularly. It will not stop. Even I don't want to hear it. Please kindly advise what to do regarding this. How these two forms of consciousness exist in same timeline, and what is real and what is fake. Or is this both only vitakkas?
Yes, so in the past you have appreciated this song, no? Right? So that's why it is coming. And now you are in a retreat, you are meditating, you don't like the song anymore. Right? So whatever it is, let's say even a song, if you play the same song many times, thousands of times, what will happen? You will get sick and tired of it, right? That's the very nature of this world. Whatever you like, whatever the favorite thing that you have, if you experience that for many times, thousands and times, what will happen is that you get sick and tired of it, right? So probably there is still some liking towards this song. So let it play. again and again, time after time. Let the song come, and probably when you finish the retreat, you will be sick and tired of this song. You will not dare listen to it once again, right? So that's the very nature of this world, right? Whatever that we appreciate, whatever that we like, whatever that's our favorite, if we experience it, the same thing repetitively for many times, then no matter whatever it is, we get sick and tired of it. What we usually do is we change objects, right? The meals, you don't eat the same meal again and again, no. You change it. Today you eat something, tomorrow you pick something else. That type of approach we have. And you will come and say, this is my favorite food. Probably chocolate ice cream, let's say, right? So let's say chocolate ice cream, that's your favorite food, right? So we give you only chocolate ice cream. Today you are given chocolate ice cream. For breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, given chocolate ice cream. Tomorrow the same thing, and continue for 1 month. What will happen? By the end of the month, you will say, I am sick and tired of chocolate ice cream. I can't even see the sight of it, right? Something else I can enjoy, right? That's the very nature of this mind. So as meditators, what we do is we take something like breath. We bring our attention to that same object for many times, repetitively. And what happens in meditation is that you get sick and tired of the breathing. The breath disappears. That's the science of it, right? You no longer pay attention to, or your mind is no longer interested in the breathing, right? Same goes for the other things. Let it be a song. Let the song come and play repetitively. You feel like this is so bothering you, so much troubling you. That's okay. It is not intentional. No? Allow it to come. Allow it to, play. When the process is done, you'll be sick and tired of this song. And that's the very idea. Don't try to suppress it. Instead, let it happen. And when it happens for many times, one day there won't be any causes for this song to play, and it will no longer be there, right? So you can see this is how it is, right? Maybe we identified this as one of the favorite songs in the history, but now it is coming and haunting you in meditation. That's okay. That's okay. Let that process happen. And naturally, there will be an end to it. You are not energizing it. You simply allow this background music to continue. And gradually, it will disappear one day. Till that, you have to be patient. Simply try to anchor yourself to the primary object while walking, sitting, or doing other activities. You know where to prioritize, where to keep your attention. But let the song play in the background. That approach is much better.
Report number 4. Venerable Bhante, I have one problem. During both sitting and walking meditation, inner chattering thoughts arise, but it doesn't bother me because it comes and goes. However, there always arise some music in my mind. Sometimes even morning chanting that do not stop. This has bothered me several years. Please advise.
Probably you were sitting next to that earlier person. The song playing in their mind, you are overhearing it. Yes, right. So it's okay, Now the thoughts are there. You are saying that it doesn't bother you. That's a good thing, no? Right? So we are no longer the owner of these thoughts. Same goes for the music or the chanting. Let it be there in the background. Simply be mindful, continue your practice, and simply know that these things are there in the background. Right? That very approach is the best way. It's like clouds in the sky. Right? thoughts, the metaphor is clouds in the sky. Right? The clouds come and go, but we don't claim ownership to it. Right? They simply pass according to their own nature. Right? If we claim ownership to them, then we say this cloud is good, this cloud is bad, this shouldn't be there for such a long time. All those worries, questions, doubts come. Right? But we simply disclaim the ownership of these things. They are there in the background. It's like clouds in the sky. I'm not the owner. Right? Same goes for the thoughts. Let those thoughts be. Simply continue your mindfulness. That's the very idea. When you say these things are bothering me, indirectly you are energizing them. Yeah, you are giving them value. Right? So that attitude is wrong. Gradually you have to accept them. Acceptance is important. When you accept them, you realize they are in the background, no problem, no issue. You don't assign so much value to them. They come and go according to their own nature. That might take some time for you to accept, but that's the way of the practice. Same thing happened to thoughts. No, that's why you are saying that thoughts no longer bother me. Right? Now there's new thing that bothers you. But when you continue your practice, those new things will also, be the same background things that don't bother you. That will happen. You simply have to continue. It says they have been bothering you for few years, right? It says few years. Last sentence or something? Few years. Yes, so probably by, considering them as a trouble, saying that these things are bothering me, that's the very reason that they have continued for so long. So what you have to do is acceptance. Acceptance is important, and when you accept, you don't indirectly give them power. Right? That's the very approach. So continue, and you will see an end of it.
Report number 5, mindful walking. Primary object started with left feet, back area, touched floor and ended from the toes. It feels like this process continues automatically without my knowledge. When I observed this endless cycle, I felt like my middle of the forehead freezing. And it's an amazing feeling. Also feels like someone walking on behalf of me without my orders. Mindful sitting. Started observing long breath in and a very short breath out. Inner wave was very strong and rough, while outer wave got smooth and sort of soft approach. After a few observing rounds, I felt my middle of the forehead freezing again, like at the mindful walking session. And this was so addictive feeling.
Yes, so good. Let the practice continue. Various things happen. Certain ways of looking at it. You can feel like third person view. You are observing and someone else is walking. That type of a perception. And sometimes certain parts, certain sensations appear. So all of them, it's fine. You simply has to continue. And one thing I will mention, now in your report you are giving the sensation as well as location, forehead. You identify it as a part of your body, right? So what we recommend, initially of course we say, the breathing, where do you feel the breathing? Is it in your belly? Is it at your nostrils? So that type of a questioning, that type of observation we do. But gradually we suggest that you simply let go of the location. Simply observe the sensation that appear. So you don't say it's in my forehead. Instead you will say that I observe this type of a sensation. Right? Not assigning a location is good when you mature in the practice. Because body disappears, certain parts disappear, certain sensations appear. So you are no longer able to pinpoint a location. Better not to do that. Simply observe as sensations. That is better. right? And that approach, if you take into your daily life, let's say there's some pain, ache in your body. As long as you don't mention the location, you are fine, right? You are paining, aching, but you don't mention the location, right? But let's say you mention it's a headache. Then there's a disease, there's a diagnosis, things go, right? If you say it's in your belly, some other doctor, you will be assigned to some other doctor. If you say it's in your back, then some other disease, right? So all those things, as long as you say it's paining, aching, nobody can diagnose you, right? But when you tell it's a headache, then there is some diagnosis. When you say it is a back pain, there is some other disease, right? So that type of thing continues. So in this observation, if we don't mention the location, it's simply the nature of the body, right? Whatever the sickness that appears, there'll be always vibrations, heat and coolness, and certain feelings, sensations, tightness, right? It's a combination of those things. So we don't see it as a disease. Instead, we simply observe it as a sensation. When you are feverish, notice what you feel in your body. You feel the heat probably. You feel it is cooling down at times. You feel tightness in certain areas. So that type of a nature, it will appear in your body. You get some other disease, right? You simply observe what you feel. That way, approaching this is much better. Otherwise, we are always dependent on certain painkillers and things like that. Right? Painkillers, there is so much demand for them because we don't like this type of observation. We don't like pain. We don't like irritations. We prefer numbing them and continuing our daily life. That's the very idea. Now, the upper monastery storage, the monk who is handling, he says 20,000 Panadols in the storage, right? So much Panadol for any pains, aches, you can simply take them, right? But that's not the proper approach. I'm sure you need medical assistance in certain occasions. That's true. But you don't need painkillers as a daily supplement. That's not necessary. You can survive your day without painkillers. You can survive a cold without painkillers. You can survive a headache without painkillers. That approach you can gradually take, and that ability will be developed, right? And that's the correct way. Otherwise, we are always dependent on something outside. No, this mind has a healing power. This mind has the ability to, endure things. That ability we are exercising. The healing power of the body we are exercising, right? So it's a gradual approach, but little by little you can really see how your body can withstand these things, how your mind can withstand these things. That strength you can develop. Otherwise, you will always say, I have this disease, I'm in pain, it is aching. All those complaints come. So we do an observation, but we don't assign a location. Simply say, okay, this is vibration in my body, or some other kind of a feeling in my body. That type of observation is much more beneficial when it comes to a seasoned practitioner. And that approach is beneficial for your daily life as well. The family members, they want to do the duty of taking you to the doctor, right? No matter what you have, they'll always try to, put you in a hospital or something. They feel like they have done their duty, right? But you yourself, you have to suffer, no? It doesn't matter where you go, you have to endure this. And certain illnesses, you can't really give painkillers. You'll be in extreme pain, you'll be in agony. still the doctors won't be able to help you sometimes, right? So that reality is there in this world. So we better get prepared for it. Observing a common cold, without medicine, you can take care of it. Take some herbal tea and honey and simply go through that process. It's like, whole new experience, whole new kind of a meditative experience if you take that approach. So observations without a location, that's very good for a seasoned meditator.
Report number 6. Anapanasati meditation. Primary object, mindful about my breathing. I felt frustrated about past years without being mindful. But I can only meditate 30 to 40 minutes. Then I take a long break or sleep. When I feel pain, my mind says to stop and have a break and then get back to meditation. Is it okay if I'm mindful about my thoughts like in Vidarshana meditation instead of Anapanasati? I feel sleepy sometimes and it's so hard to get rid of it. I feel like I'm wasting time compared to others' long-term meditation. I meditate in the night and sleep for hours in the daytime. I also need to change this routine. Walking meditation. Primary object, mindful about my feet touching the ground. I felt my breathing. I could observe my mind, but difficult to focus on my feet. When I try to focus on my legs, my mind goes to breathing. However, I can observe my mind well. Is it okay to continue observing my mind instead?
It is okay to?
Is it okay to continue observing my mind during walking meditation?
Right. So we are happy about your interest. You feel like, continuing and developing your practice. That's why all those questions, ideas, past regrets, all of them come due to that. So it's okay. You are interested, you continue. But there is a confusion between what we are doing. There's a confusion. You don't understand what we are doing. Are we doing Vidarshana or are we doing Samatha? What are we doing? Is it concentration meditation or is it wisdom or Vipassana? Now seems like all of you are confused about it. Yes, so that's a good question, it seems like, right? Actually, this practice, this approach, we are not trying to do a particular, only Vidarshana, only Samatha. That's not our approach, right? Instead, this very approach is Samatha Vidarshana approach, right? You can't really separate them. That's one thing, right? It is like, those different faculties, they are supporting each other. When your concentration grows, naturally you are able to be mindful for a longer period. And when your mindfulness grows, naturally you get more concentrated, right? So you can see these two faculties, they are supporting each other. So most of the people, they try to do it like concentration only or Vipassana only. That type of approach they have. And when they do that, it becomes a struggle. I know some people who has done only Samatha part or concentration only, and initially it works, but after a few years they realize it becomes a whole new struggle. It is like, chasing after some goal. You can't get there, but you want to get there, your mind is not peaceful. All those type of problems appear, right? So you have to understand, we are following a much more natural approach. We sit in meditation, we simply bring our attention to the breathing, and sometimes you are naturally aligned towards concentration. Sometimes the mind is all over the place, naturally aligned towards Vipassana or wisdom, right? So it depends on the sitting. It depends on the walk-in session. We are not trying to do one. Naturally, we do both. And whatever the faculties grow in that sitting session, we appreciate. For example, early in the morning, it will be more aligned towards concentration. Towards the end day, probably it will be more aligned towards vipassana. For example, the upcoming sitting session. Right now we are little bit sleepy, the environment is bit hot, right? Your thoughts might come, right? So among all those things, it feels like a struggle. Most people don't like it, but that's what given in that particular sitting session, right? So this is a natural approach. And in the commentary, there is this idea of Yuganadha. Yuganadha means two oxen pulling the same cart, right? That approach is much better. One faculty helping the other, and they are helping each other and moving forward. Two oxen pulling the same cart, Yuganadha, right? So that's how those two faculties are supporting our practice. And go into your meditation, sit comfortably, and simply approach, and you will see it is more aligned towards concentration one day. Next sitting session won't be that, right? So that very approach is much more natural, and naturally the faculties grow, supporting each other, right? So your questions, they arise from a wrong understanding. Sometimes thoughts are there, naturally you feel observant. You start to feel these thoughts. You feel that they are past thoughts, certain things come to your mind. Among these things, you align your attention towards the breathing. Sometimes you are fully with the breath, right? So it depends on the session. And due to that very observation, you are asking this question. You are asking, is it okay to observe thoughts? But you have already observed. That's why you are asking that, right? So take that simple, natural approach. And sometimes the samatha faculty will go. Sometimes the vipassana faculty will grow. That approach is much natural and, practical.
Dear Bhante, there is always been difficulty from retreat to going home. There is anxiousness, fear, worry. It takes some time to adjust at home and can come back to normal routine at home. After each retreat, the practice at home improves, but still the very first day is very hard. Please guide us, Bhante.
So you can stay here then. How about that? Yes? So this type of thought process, it's natural. Initially, when you come for a retreat, you feel uncomfortable here. You feel comfortable at home. You don't like this new environment. You don't like this change. That's how you start. Now you are saying the opposite thing, no? Then you are saying the retreat center is better. Home, I don't like. Right? That's what you are saying. So probably you can change home. You can become homeless. Right? And then you can stay in a retreat center forever. And when you stay for a few months, probably you start craving home again, right? The monks, they would like to go home and visit them, right? That happens, right? So this resistance is natural, but what we suggest is continuing this practice for a long time, and naturally you feel home wherever you are. Whether at a retreat center you feel home, go back home to the crowded environment, but still you'll feel home. That's the real practice. For that to happen, you might have to continue for many years. Wherever you are, you feel home there. That's the very best approach, but it takes time for you to reach there. So see this resistance. Be mindful of this resistance. Again, come back to a retreat center. Be mindful that you are liking that change. Again, after the end of the retreat, you would have to go back home. See the resistance in your mind, right? So likes and dislikes. Observing these likes and dislikes is a good practice for you. And when you do it for some time, you realize the likes and dislikes or the friction is reducing. That approach you can take. So I'm sure at the end of the retreat, you'll have to go home and you get to experience that part once again.
Report number 8. Dear Bhante, as per your recommendations yesterday, I feel that it is not required to attend these structured retreats after meditating for more than 10 plus years. If we got the clarity with regard to initial instructions and develop the capability to accept whatever comes, then what is required is solitude. Is this correct? During Buddha's time, disciples got kamatahang and went to have solitude. Appreciate if you could share your valuable insight.
Yeah, timely question. Today's topic, right? So we recommend you to listen to the talk and find the answer.
Report number 9. This is not linked to the practice and is a theoretical question. Sorry about same. In organizations, when we talk about developing competencies or skills, we say people go through 4 steps. Unconscious incompetence. Don't think they can't drive. Conscious incompetence. No, they can't drive. Conscious competence can think and drive. Unconscious competence can drive without thinking. Although these 4 steps are applicable for driving or swimming, examples, Bhante mentioned about are we going through the same 4 steps when we develop mindfulness or any other attribute in 37 enlightenment factors. Much merit.
Yes, very nice. Those 4 stages, we are also going through the practice. First, what you have? Unconscious unmindfulness. That's what you have. Right? When you are not a meditator, that's what you have. Then somebody comes and tell you there's something called mindfulness. Right? And you start meditating. What is your very first experience? You start to experience conscious unmindfulness. Right? That's what comes. Then you do your practice for a while. Then you get into a state of conscious mindfulness. And when you do it for many years, what will happen is that unconscious mindfulness, naturally you are mindful, naturally you are present, you have reached the level of mastery, right? So that's how the practice works. It's like developing a skill. It's a skill in your mind, but still you can categorize them into these 4 steps, right? Even, let's say, when you reach a certain level of practice, for example, like mindfulness power, sati bala, that type of a level, then you realize you are naturally mindful. That's the very practice, and that very mindfulness continues throughout the day. You feel that whatever you do, most of the time your attention is naturally there, right? So it takes many years for you to approach that level, but it's worth it. So for a beginner who doesn't know mindfulness, for a worldly person, let's say, they are in unconscious unmindfulness. Then they listen about mindfulness, they try to be mindful, they realize consciously, they see they are unmindful, right? Then consciously being mindful, observing a breath, keeping few steps like that. Then finally you reach unconscious mindfulness, right? Naturally you are mindful. You no longer have to do any practice, you are there, right? So if you can reach that level, then no organized retreats are necessary. But we have to recheck time after time, are we there? Are we feel comfortable wherever we go, right? It takes many years, but that's where we will be reaching. And even certain stories are there. One of the monks, I think, he was saying, now I am an arahant, I don't have to go into these arranged sessions, right? That was his idea. He's saying, I have done my work, no need to go there. Then Buddha says, you have to go there. Why? He's asking. Buddha says, you have to go there and be a good example for the others. That's what he says. Right? If you are not going, who will go? If you are not showing that example, who will show? And that's what he's asking. So even after becoming Buddha, he has meditated for many hours throughout the day. After becoming Buddha, he has sat in meditation with other people, preached them, did all those work because the others take a good example out of it. They realize, okay, I'll do the walking like this, I'll do the sitting like this, I'll practice like him. That approach is important for a beginner. When we go to those one-day retreats, maybe 100 plus people, unknown people, newcomers, they come to a session and we give the walking instructions and we go out with them and we walk. For let's say 45 minutes we walk. Then we do the sitting session with them. Right? Later in the discussion they say, I was confused about the walking. So I looked around and I saw Bhante walking, so I did the same thing. I copied you. I kept walking like that. So that approach is good. That approach is important. So you can figure it out on your own. But we are going through those 4 stages in the practice. We can categorize them as that.
Report number 10. Dear Bhante, yesterday Dhamma talk was very simple but was carrying profound messages. Bhante, what are the sutta references for the noble silence you explain at the end of the sermon? Much merit.
Noble silence. There is this, I can't remember that the name of that sutta, but there's this very incident of, some visiting monks are coming to see the Buddha and they were making so much noises, right? And then Buddha chased them away, saying that you guys are making too much noise. You are not suited for this place. So they were chased away by Buddha. Then later, they practiced and they became arahants. And indirectly, Buddha was saying it would be very nice to see those monks again. That type of a message was given to Venerable Ananda. So Venerable Ananda asked them to come. They come and sit in front of Buddha, but he was in meditation. No small talk. No small talk was made. So Venerable Ananda made an invitation. Bhante, those invited monks are here. You might make small talk with them. Right? And then Buddha is silent. Again, after a few hours, middle part of the night, again Venerable Ananda is saying, Bhante, those monks you have invited, they have arrived. You should make small talk with them. Venerable Ananda is not fully enlightened, no? So he is saying that, please welcome these monks. But Buddha is silent. Then the third, after even few more hours, he is saying finally, Bhante, please, these people are waiting for you. Please make small talk with them. Then Buddha opened his eyes and said, Ananda, if you know the noble silence, you wouldn't have said so. Right? So poor Ananda got harmed or got hit due to that incident. Other monks, they were quiet. They were appreciating the noble silence along with Buddha. Only Ananda got irritated because no small talk. Right? So it's a very nice story. They were banished for making noises initially, those monks. Right? Later, Buddha hinted that it would be very nice to see them again. Then they came, they were arahants, they sat in meditation with Buddha, appreciating the noble silence, and only Venerable Ananda was irritated. So he made request. finally got hit by saying, Ananda, if you know the real truth, if you know the noble silence, you wouldn't have said all those words, right? So those things are very nice references. So such things, that's the only thing that comes to my mind. I think you can search it, find it in the online text. I'm sure there's a sutra with this particular incident.
Report number 11. Walking meditation. I have full senses of foot. I have allowed my mind to be free. It mainly enjoys nature, trees, breeze, and the climate. At short time frames, it comes back to the foot at full focus. Yesterday, I took a break from the schedule, here and there. Today, I am back to the routine. So thoughts are flooded, but I am facing them and let them be as they are. Sitting meditation. I begin by realizing the environment. Then, through the senses from toe to the head, I check if the breath is controlled or not, and wait for the breath to come to me. And when it comes, it's wonderful. Otherwise, I just sit and observe my thoughts. I am able to sit now exactly 20 to 30 minutes. I am not able to remember the thoughts when I open my eyes. I am more mindful in daily activities.
Good. We are happy that you are finding your unique balance, right? So it takes time, but you yourself can figure out it. Nobody else can give it to you. So you are on the right path. Simply continue this way. Take a break and come back to the routine once again. Do all those things and your practice works. The practice is good. Continue and figure out your own balance.
Report number 12. Dear Bhante, please advise in relation to practice. Question: can a yogi experience disappearing of verbal formations, vachi sankara, without disappearing of bodily formations, kaya sankara?
Right. So if you remember the discussion, now the breath is there. Breath is like bodily formations, right? And giving attention to the breath, right? So vitakka vichara is there. Initial thought and the sustained thoughts. So the breath disappears, those bodily formations disappear, but still vitakka vichara might continue. Without vitakka, vichara might continue. I said that certain things come to your mind without your initial thought, right? So that way you can see the bodily part has disappeared, but still the verbal part continues. But after a while you feel that too is settling down. Still the mental formations are there, right? You get the feeling and the perception is there. You know that you are there, right? And when you continue for a while, you can see that part also disappearing. And when that part disappears, it goes into blank. Only after coming back to the feeling and perception, you can feel earlier few seconds I was blank, right? So that type of approach we are taking. I'm sure you get to experience this in your meditation. You can experience and you can share what you feel. Maybe you feel differently. You feel something else about it. So we welcome those thoughts as well.
Report number 13. Walking meditation. Focus on mindfulness walking, thoughts time to time. But my mind was now more sharp and focused on the feelings I get with each step. After doing meditation for a while, imbalance or dizziness comes. Sitting meditation. Focused on breathing. Thank you, Bhante, for valuable advice to let go of forcing mind to focus. Mind is free and wandering in different spheres now. Sometimes the mind gets more focused, but on hearing the sounds become unbreakable. Please advise. Daily activities. Try to be mindful in activities while thinking also.
Right. So it's okay to be natural and simply allow the breath to come to your attention. You are not forcing too much, but you have to understand, you have to find the fine balance in this, right? Otherwise, if you simply let the mind go wherever it goes, then probably it won't be meditating, right? And if you try to force your attention towards the breath, you end up with a headache. So you have to find that proper balance. You gently, gracefully, you approach the breath. But you know that the breathing is where you should keep your attention. Sometimes thoughts come, they grab your attention, sounds appear, they grab your attention, that's fine. But naturally you know where you should be returning. That fine balance you have to figure out. Otherwise, if you simply let go of everything, then probably it doesn't feel like meditation for you. Then if you try to force your breath, force your attention towards the breath, you end up with a headache. So that middle balance, the middle path, middle way, you have to figure it out, right? So that balance you have to find and let us know about that balance. In this report, it feels like you have given up the breath. That's not correct, right? Instead, you know that's where you should keep your attention, but you can't always get there. That is fine, right? That you have to mention in your report. Start mentioning about the breath. This is how I feel when I feel the breath. And time to time, mind naturally goes to thoughts, sounds. That's fine. But again, when I return to my breath, this is how I feel. That approach, if you take, then we hear that you haven't forgotten the breath. Right? Now, when we hear this report, it feels like you have forgotten it.
Last report, sitting meditation. Concentrated on in-breath and out-breath at the nostrils. Noted the fading away of breath and vacant area or space before me. Watched again the rising of the breath. And this cycle continued a couple of times thereafter. The vacant lit up area continued. I felt my head nodding a couple of times and still woke up to the vacant space. Got myself entangled in a couple of thoughts and came back to the space. Look for the breath but could not notice. Please advise, Bhante.
Yes. So the practice goes very well. What you have to do is revisit that practice for many sit-in sessions and walk-in sessions. That's what you have to do. So the practice is very nice, progressing. So you have to go through that process, and that's how you will be moving forward or growing in practice. That's all. Yes, so we exactly spent 1 hour, I guess. Right, so in 45 minutes, we'll gather here for a sit-in session.